Good afternoon to you. Mark Sutton with HurricaneTrack.com here with your off-season edition of the Hurricane Outlook and Discussion. It is now March the 1st, 2021, and that means it is the start of meteorological spring. It's just the way meteorologists look at similar temperature patterns for the different times of the year. Astronomical spring, which has a lot more to do with the solstices and the equinoxes. Is that a word? That's a little later on in March, but meteorologically speaking, it's springtime, so that's awesome. December, January, February would be meteorological winter. Well, February is gone. See you later. It is now time for meteorological spring, and as such, we have our new logo up here that our good friend and art guy, Tim, put together for us. We appreciate that very much. Got the yellow tornado in there, a different look to everything. We're trying to do this branding in the off-season that we cover winter weather. We cover spring severe weather, and then boom, it's hurricane season again. And that might even be starting earlier. I'll talk about that as well as in today's update. But that's the new logo for the next few months as we go forward. We will be doing some project stuff during spring severe weather season. I'll talk about that at the end of today's video as well. All right, so let's get rid of me and move on with it, shall we? So first, looking at the sea surface temperature anomalies for today. It is always a day behind, so it shows February 28th, but it's today, whatever. You understand, it takes a day for them to process, and then it gets updated, so it's always a day behind. But I digress. What do we got? That's the bottom line. Well, we still have warm anomalies in the main development region of the Atlantic, generally cold anomalies in the Pacific, but I see some changes in the overall pressure pattern for the Southern Oscillation Index, the SOI, kind of tanking in recent days here, a downward trend. We can see that on the graph and as well on the table here in tabular fashion. Negative, negative, a little positive there, negative going back a few days. Why? Well, we're seeing some changes in the overall atmosphere across the tropical Pacific that will eventually lead to, it looks like, a more neutral to cold neutral setup in the Pacific. So basically a moderation of that fairly solid cold La Nina that we're in right now, the cold phase of the ENSO, or El Nino Southern Oscillation. It's going to gradually warm up, but I see nothing at all that would suggest we're going to get into an El Nino and the Atlantic would be colder. You know, it doesn't look like it's going to flip. And so I think the upcoming hurricane season is probably going to be quite busy. We'll start to see some different people from the private weather organizations issuing their official forecasts. Universities will start issuing theirs, and eventually we'll hear from Dr. Klotzbach from Colorado State University. That's a university, of course. Phil Kay, as we know him, I guess the next update is in April, and we're getting closer to hurricane season. I told you February would go by quick, and it certainly doesn't hurt that it's a shorter month. But no big changes overall. The Gulf, this is kind of interesting, by the way, warmer than average in most of the Gulf of Mexico, especially in the Central Gulf with that little loop current deal. And that brings me to the actual sea surface temperature chart here. This is not an anomaly chart. These are the actual temperatures in degrees Celsius. And right off, you can see this area here. I've been watching it all winter. It never cooled off. We never lost this. It was never chiseled away. I remember, years back, I think you do too, that 26 Celsius isotherm was tucked away down like that. It was not this prevalent up into the Gulf. And maybe part of the, Gulf Stream slowing down that we've heard about. A few reports about that. Not going to get into that today. That's a whole other topic, but maybe all of this is related, that you start slowing down, the exit, the pattern, and you start backing up the water through here. So it gets warmer. The warmer water is backing up. We'll see. It's going to be a few more years of some studies, but nevertheless, the Gulf of Mexico warming up as you would expect. And I'm not real concerned overall. I mean, the Gulf, as I say, I make it very clear, always going to be warm enough for intense hurricanes. The Gulf will be, right? Sounds like Yoda. Anyway, I'm not even going to try, but that's how Yoda talks, sort of backwards, right? But it will be. The Gulf will be warm enough in any year. What is a little concerning to me is that loop current that's sticking up in there like that, and the fact that it is warmer showing up in the anomalies there, then it should be, noticeable there. And why is that concerning? Well, when hurricanes cross the loop current, kind of like Katrina did back in 05, something like this, and it made landfall up there. That's a pretty good representation of it. And the loop current was a little different. This is just an example. That's more warm water because this water is circulating. And that's why it's important. It's always refreshing itself, the loop current. And so if this is prevalent during especially the peak of the upcoming season, that could be a problem. So something to watch, but not be concerned about yet. It's just, keep an eye on it. Put a pin in it, as they say. Off the East Coast in the mid-Atlantic, water temperatures warming up here, as you would expect. I mean, I know it's obvious. It's March, and they should be. But again, you go back to the anomalies, and you say, man, look off the coast of North America up here, southeast of New England, southeast of the Maritimes. And some of these anomalies in here are so pronounced, so exaggerated, that they're off the chart. It shows up as basically the color black. And you go back to the actual temperatures and you look and you say, well, dude, there's purples in there. That's cold. Yes, the water temperatures are cold, but they're nowhere near as cold as we expect them to be. And so there's more energy, more water vapor, less sea ice, all that kind of stuff. Just something to watch as we get into hurricane season, or beach season, as it were. I know spring break's coming. And speaking of that, in the Gulf, by the way, spring break just around the corner. The shelf waters down here definitely chilly, mainly because, especially over here, that cold outbreak that we had a couple weeks ago now or so. So you better just go to Florida, I guess, and enjoy the water temperatures there. I'm just kidding. But the water temperatures are chilly, and chillier than they should be right up against the shelf there, the shelf water, mainly because of that cold outbreak. But what can you do? Just wear a wetsuit, I guess, and be ready for it. All right, so it's kind of rare, very rare, that I'd be showing this map on March 1st. What is it? Well, it's the points of origin for the time frame of May 11th through the 20th, through the year 2015. Yeah, it's getting a little dated. Nobody's updated it in a few years. I don't know why. I don't make this map, but it's from NOAA. And we know that since 2015, there have been more developments in the month of May. I mean, heck, last year we had Arthur. I believe it started around May 18th, and that would fit right in the wheelhouse of these days, right? So what do we got here? What's the problem? Why am I showing this? Well, there's been talk that the WMO, which is the World Meteorological Organization, part of the United Nations, and the National Hurricane Center are all working together. They have their meeting where they talk about retiring storms from the various lists of names around the globe. Dorian needs to be retired. Laura needs to be retired, among others. You get the idea. So they discuss that. They discuss things related to climate change and other weather issues globally. And one of the things they talk about, of course, would be tropical cyclone matters. And in this case, they are going to bring up changing the start of the Atlantic season to coincide and sync up with the start of the Pacific season, Eastern Pacific anyway, and that's May 15th. So let me make the argument as to why, if they do that, I have no problem with it. And it's really not a big deal, because it's not. There are 10 dots over here, I believe. You can count them to make sure. Truth and verification, right? Trust but verify. And there are 10 dots, points of origin, in the Atlantic. And we know that since this time frame, 2015 especially, there's been even more over here. And certainly last year there was, right? So they're equal just in this time frame here, 10 and 10. So that alone, and I've said this before in other updates in the month of May usually, that why don't we just start both seasons on May 15th? Just make it equal. And so this argues for that the precedent is there. And if we go out another 10 days, the last third of the month of May, yes, there are more points of origin in the Pacific than there are in the Atlantic, but there's still a few. 2, that's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And we know since 2016 there's been even more. So come on, it's no big deal. make the change. That's fine. It just means May 15th will be the tropical cyclone season, if you want to call it that, which is the technical term anyway, for both basins, and maybe end them both, either November 15th or November 30th. I don't care. But May 15th makes perfect sense. Some people are going to make a big deal about it, that, oh, it's because of climate change and whatever. I mean, even before all this stuff that we've seen lately with the increase in activity in May, these last few years, the evidence is there. I showed you that. Look, there it is. Make it May 15th. Be done with it. No big deal. I'm all for it. Why not? All right, lower 48 weather real quick. Not much happening, thank goodness. It's generally a quiet pattern, generally, but there are some flood issues through here. Winter storm issues up in New England, even some flood issues in eastern Nebraska. And if you ever want to click on this map, it's weather.gov. It's interactive, so that's kind of cool. And one of the things you can click on is rivers, lakes, and rainfall. That takes you to this page as an example. And I just happened to zoom into the Carolinas where I live. Nice interactive map. You can mouse over these gauges and they tell you what's going on. You have coastal, for hurricane stuff, for your tides. That's interesting. You got your river flood stuff here. The PD River at PD, South Carolina, out of the ILM or Wilmington WFO. And this is, anywhere. Kentucky up here, or West Virginia, sorry. Some of these rivers, a lot of rainfall yesterday. You can kind of slide this map over if it'll let me. It's not going to let me. Well, fine. Let's go down to West Virginia. Just do it the easy way, right? Or the hard way. Whatever way you want to look at it. Point is, it's spring severe time, severe weather time, heavy rainfall, you name it, we got it. Even some major flooding in here. Red River at Clay City, Kentucky, almost to the record there. Yikes. So yes, this is important. It's linked off the weather.gov homepage. Check it out. We are in the warm season, finally. At least we're getting there. And that means severe weather as well. We'll be looking at the convective outlooks over the coming weeks and months, you bet. This is the day one for today, mostly along the Gulf Coast. No real big threats of anything less than 2% and 5% for your major problems, hail, tornadoes, wind, etc. Very low probabilities overall. That's the case for day two, which encompasses much of the southeast states. Again, less than 2 for hail, 5 for tornadoes, sorry. I get ahead of myself. Wind is 5%, or less than 5%. Hail less than 5% as well. Day three, they don't do those probabilities. It's just probabilistic overall, and less than 5%. All areas. Woohoo! So, good for now, but this map will start to fill in. And eventually, Tornado Alley, the traditional area here, the Dixie Alley through here, and even in the Carolinas, we have our own little Tornado Alley away from the coast. In parts of Florida, you got it down here. You know the areas if you've been in these regions long enough. We will be focusing on that and more to keep you aware. That's part of it. But second, the main other part, we're going to be doing some work in Tornado Alley in May. Don't know when yet. We don't have it scheduled. We're going to wait for a big trough to dig in and some shortwave energy to rotate through that trough and give us a multi-day outbreak. And we are going to take our entire hurricane project, the Hurricane Landfall Project, out to the plains to do some major testing during a severe weather outbreak. 20 camera systems running, these new online data streaming from these connected kestrels that we've got, the anemometers that we've got, all this crowd-funded stuff. We're going to test it. The weather balloon, trying to launch it after the dry line passes. I mean, really, really amazing things coming. And that leads me to this. What are we doing with Patreon and our insider site, the HurricaneTrack Insider? It's March, hurricane season's coming. So, our map's coming along. I was just looking at it earlier. Our good friend Will Woodgate over in the UK. That's right here, by the way. Been working on that for about a year. It's really incredible. You can turn these layers on and off. You can change the map extent itself to street level. That's what I had it on. National Geographic's a good one. Ocean's a good one. You name it. And then during hurricane season, you can turn on the layer for watches and warnings. There's our weather stations that we can turn on. all kinds of good stuff. And this map is interactive. It's really neat. I'm so proud of this thing. I'm so happy with it. And that's part of what we're doing through Patreon and Hurricane Track Insider. Of course, we have our live camera dashboard. Nothing going on right now because we're not on a field mission. But during a field mission, all of these would be activated. Here is our chat, our people that are helping out with funding all of this. Then we have our page here of all of our things that we monitor. Just a bunch of great stuff. We're growing it more and more. And that leads me to this tweet from Will. He added me. At HurricaneTrack. Don't at me, they say. Well, Will added me today, and I like it because he's doing some good stuff. He says, good to be back working on some fun new weather projects for HurricaneTrack again. Building progressive web apps in native HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and PHP. And that is fast becoming my favorite. I like the OUR. He's from the UK. I love it. His favorite area of work. And this is a screen grab that he did of a new sea surface temperature animator that we're putting together. I'm telling you, we're doing some awesome things. How can you be a part of it? This is how. You select a membership level. The $1 phase, or not phase, tier, that's the word I'm looking for, is sold out. And we're going to be doing away with the $1. I mean, it's worth more than $1. It really is. And so we're going to do away with that eventually. And it starts at $10 a month. You get access to everything I just told you and showed you. The $25 level, even more stuff, including our new 2021 tracking map. And you heard it here first. Look at that right there. It says Zoom Zoom. This is literally the first that anybody is hearing about this. The $25 level. All the people that are a part of it now, which is what? Let's scroll up. We have, it's going to make me do the math. So we have about 70-something people or so out of 350 doing the $25 level. That's not bad. I think it's about 76 or something like that. At the $25 level, this year, I'm going to add Zoom meetings exclusively for our patrons at that level. What does that mean? It means once a week, starting this month, immediately, not today, but this month, I'm going to do a Zoom meeting just for us, our patrons, where we get together, we discuss things. I might have guests like Ben Knoll come on. We all will interact with each other. If there's one good thing that has come about as part of the pandemic, I didn't know anything about Zoom before all that. And we all do now, including the infamous attorney that was a cat. Remember that? I know there's been some crazy Zoom accidents. I intend to have no accidents, but you never know. But seriously, we're going to be using Zoom in a very unique way for our $25 supporters. If you're going to help us out to fund these projects, well, then let's get together as investors and talk about it as partners. That's what this is all about. So we're going to be doing Zoom meetings once a week, and then when things get cooking and we got stuff to really talk about, we will schedule specific Zoom meetings where we talk about a hurricane threat, a severe weather threat, whatever. It'll become more frequent during the season, as you can imagine. And then, of course, your name in Season 2 in the end credits of the Hurricane Highway. Really, really cool stuff. These are the different levels you can pledge. The $100 level will add your name as a producer. Produced by whoever. You understand? And then, again, the first time I have mentioned it, here it is, a new tier. All you business people out there that own your own business, that are watching on YouTube, watching and supporting just, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, whatever. If you have a business, we only have 6 of these available because I don't want to dilute and we just have a whole bunch of business partners. I mean, it would be great, but I want to make it valuable, right, and exclusive. So we have a half a dozen business patron tier slots open, just to put it in last night, so that the first 6 businesses that sign up for this is $250 a month. I will talk about your business. Literally, I would be talking about it during this update. Hey, I want to thank the Acme Anvil Company for supplying the anvils to the Coyote and Roadrunner show. If you know Saturday morning cartoons from when you were a kid like me, you know what I'm talking about. Just trying to be funny there. Seriously, though, I will talk about your business during the updates. We'll put your logo on the Hurricane Track homepage. We'll mention it on social media. People will know that the Acme Anvil Company is supporting what we are doing. You know, a long time ago, when I first got into this, the first few years of my career, I had these huge partnerships, sponsorships with Lowe's, home improvement stores, with Sprint, and it was national. Well, now we are in the age of crowdfunding, where more individuals make things happen, like public radio, the patrons of the arts, you understand that. And businesses do the same things. I've gone to many plays and musicals that my kids have been in, and you'll see a local dentist or the local doctor or the local whoever will sponsor or be a patron of that particular, like The Sound of Music was a year ago here in Wilmington. I remember that. And they will have different patrons. And businesses are oftentimes, you know, we call them sponsors. I like to call them patrons or underwriters, because not only do you get to get exposure for your business, but I can work with you if you have questions about hurricanes. I mean, it's just much more than, hey, let's get a logo on a t-shirt and that's it, or a banner. It's much more interactive than that. So if you want to get your business name out there and support what we're doing, I've added that tier. The first modification that I've done to the Patreon universe in at least a year, I do believe. So the link to sign up on Patreon, and then we connect it to HurricaneTrack Insider. You become a patron. Well, let me get a frickin' color that'll work. There you go. You become a patron on Patreon. I link you up to our database on HurricaneTrack Insider, and you log in to take advantage of all the tools there through HurricaneTrack.com's homepage. It's all explained on Patreon. So there you go. All right, we're going to be talking about it a little bit more. I don't want to bore you with it, but if I don't mention it, we can't fund our stuff. So, and then you won't know about it, and it's really awesome what we've done. Over 680 current supporters on Patreon, and still around 100 people from the old HurricaneTrack Insider premium services. Whatever it was, 15, 16 years ago. We still have that group, a great base of people, and we're going to do some amazing things with it this year, and it'll be great to have you a part of it if you can do so. And I realize not everybody can. You're not in the position. I get it. That is why 90% of what we do is available to everybody at absolutely no cost whatsoever. But for those that can support it, we will do some incredible things with it to advance the science, to advance the understanding, the awareness, to benefit everybody. That's the power of crowd-funded science. All right? All right. Don't forget I'm on Facebook. HurricaneTrack is. Twitter and YouTube, of course. You know, subscribe, like, share, all that good stuff. You know what to do. It's the world of social media. I don't have to remind you, but I guess it's good sometimes to do just that. As always, it's great to have you tuning in. Thanks for sticking around. I know it was long today, but we covered a lot. Hey, it's the start of meteorological spring, so why not, right? We have a lot to do in the next few months. We'll be ready for hurricane season. It'll be great to have you as part of that as well, and we'll try to keep you safe and informed along the way. Have a great rest of your week. I am Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com. We'll talk again next Monday.